this video, we're going to talk about how you can leverage other people's authority and other people's money in a couple different ways. My favorite way I'm going to tell you in just a minute, but one of the things that I've come to realize is a lot of the times we convince ourselves that we don't have the money or we don't have the authority yet to achieve whatever our business goals are with our business or our personal brand in some cases. And so the coolest part that I've come to find out is you can just leverage someone else's authority and you can leverage someone else's money. And one of the best ways to do that for growing your personal brand is through interviews. And obviously, if you've gotten to know me, you know that I have a couple different shows, and Business Rockstars being one of the main ones, where I've interviewed over 1,000 successful celebrities, business mavericks and thought leaders, billionaires, and tons of people from influencers to leverage their authority to basically create more authority for myself. I mean, I remember this great story from Warren Buffett, and a stockbroker asked him, he said, "Warren, will you give me your best advice on stock tips so that I can go and charge my clients more money and tell them I got this advice on Warren Buffett and people will pay me for that advice?" And he said, "You know what, young man, I'll do you one better." And they were on Wall Street, and he puts his arm around him and they walk down the street together, and they get to the next corner and everybody's looking. Warren Buffett's out. Who's he talking to? What are they talking about? And then when they get to the end of the street, the young man says, "Warren, what were you going to tell me? What were you going to do for me?" And he says, "I just did it. I put my arm around you and I walked down the street and everybody saw." And he looks around and everyone's looking and he says, "There you go. That's more valuable than if I gave you my tip." And so it's a real story that I heard, and it's about leveraging authority. If you had a photo or a video interview of you with Oprah Winfrey, or you with the president, or you with whoever it is that's the top person who's a celebrity in your industry, or maybe just a global celebrity that a lot of people already know, like, trust, and maybe even admire and look up to, if you leverage their authority and consistently people see you with other authoritative figures, especially not just in a photo with a name tag from a seminar you went to and you paid extra for a VIP ticket and got a photo with them, that's okay, but it starts to become a little played out and obvious when you have a name tag on and you're on a backdrop of an event. So what's even better is actually sitting down across the table from somebody and having an interview, having a real dialogue and conversation. That creates so much implied credibility and so much implied authority, especially when you're the one who's aligned with that individual. And so for me, I've been really good at aligning myself with over 1,000 successful people and doing interviews with them. And the coolest part is, as you know, as you go through our program, you're actually able to, in a lot of cases, depending on how big the person is, target their followers on social media. So if I interview Tony Robbins, I know on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, I can target people who follow Tony Robbins and are interested in his stuff. People on Google or YouTube searching for Tony Robbins, I can pay to have my interview pop up. Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever it is, I can interview that person. I can target their millions of followers on social media. So the only people seeing the video are going to be people already following that celebrity. And so the question you're probably thinking is, okay, obviously, Mark, this sounds great. I'd love to leverage other people's authority in the form of an interview, but how do I do it? Well, you can either use your own money, but why not use other people's money? It's even better. And so the best way that I found to be able to do this effectively, and this is kind of like letting all the secrets out of the bag, so keep this between us on this video and the people in our community, because this is about to get crazy. So, name your favorite authority figure. Obviously, I'm on video, so I don't know who you just said. So I'm going to pick one for you. Tony Robbins is a huge name that there's a good chance you know who Tony Robbins is. And he has a lot of authority. Tony Robbins, I'm going to write his name down here. Now, obviously, he's an extreme example. I could write down Oprah Winfrey or whoever a big giant name with a lot of authority would be. We're going to do Tony Robbins for now. Now, let's just say that you were going to interview Tony Robbins so that you could align Tony Robbins with you. That would be amazing. How would Tony Robbins do that? Well, Tony Robbins and lots of other people who are at that level of celebrity status, financial status, they're usually willing to exchange their time for attention. You're probably thinking money. Yes, I'm sure they do exchange their time for money, but a lot of the times they'll exchange their time for a very high dollar amount, and you might not be willing to pay that. So another thing that's cool is they will oftentimes, once or twice a year, go on a PR tour where their executive assistant and a PR company or agency is pimping them out, trying to get them on every TV show, every magazine, everybody's podcast, everybody's social media, so that they can talk about their book or their documentary. When Tony Robbins' Netflix documentary came out, and when Tony Robbins' book came out, and, right, it's and, once or twice a year, every big celebrity who's in the game still fresh, keeping it hot with new content, new movies, new documentaries, new books, new things, new events, raising money for their charity, at least once or twice a year, every big name person has something that they want to go and get lots of exposure and attention and awareness spotlighted on. Well, guess what? That's the time that you're going to jump into the picture. And so what you're going to do is you're going to tell Tony Robbins' PR company or his executive assistant, and you're going to say, hey, let me know sometime in the next calendar year. Really, you don't want to be like, let me know this week if it works. It's not going to happen. Let me know sometime in the next calendar year, all of 2020 or 2021. Let me know when they have something. And if you did your research, which you should be able to say, let me know if he wants to get this exposure on his book or his documentary. If you do your research, you'll already know, but maybe there's nothing coming up online when you do your research or when you talk to them. So you just say, let me know when they have something that they want to get massive exposure and attention on in PR, because we have a show where we'd love to interview Tony Robbins, and we'll guarantee 1 million views on the interview. Now they're thinking, 1 million views? That's massive. 100% yes. We would definitely keep you in mind when the time comes. But you're thinking, Mark, I might not even have a show, and how the heck am I going to get that interview 1 million views? It's a great question. And I was in the exact same situation when I started. And everyone in our community who's implemented this strategy and interviewed people like Tony Robbins, who's been able to do the same thing, they followed the same formula you're learning right now. And what it is that you can interview Tony Robbins or virtually any other person that we write here to leverage their implied authority if you get them enough attention. So the goal is 1 million views on a video. There's a really good chance Tony Robbins' PR company or executive assistant is going to say yes to 1 million views. My formula, by the way, for knowing how many views should I promise? 1 million just sounds like a nice number, so I chose it, and it's a big number too. The way that I know how much I should promise for the views is I go on their social media, their number one social platform. So for Tony Robbins, if it's YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, I go on their number one social platform and I look and see what their natural organic engagement is. Meaning, if Tony Robbins posts a video on YouTube and it gets 200,000 views, he posts a video on Instagram, it gets 300,000 views, he posts a video on Facebook and it gets 300,000 views, then he pretty much has a 200,000 to 300,000 threshold that he can just naturally reach. So it's not impressive for you to offer 200,000 or 300,000 views. He gets that anyways. He might say yes, but why not guarantee the yes by offering 2 to 3 times their normal natural engagement? So all of a sudden, if you start reaching out to really, really big celebrity influencer, famous people, and they get 2 million views just naturally if they post something on Instagram and they get 2 million views, or YouTube 2 million views, then you're probably going to have to offer 5 million views or more. They might be willing to do it for 2 million views because 2 million views is still 2 million views. It's still a lot. But what I've found is my formula to pretty much guarantee a yes is whatever their biggest platform is and their average standard engagement. You should double or triple it. So if somebody naturally gets 100,000 views, then you could probably just offer them 200,000 or 300,000 views on your interview. And the reason why it's important is because it increases the odds of them saying yes, because they'll think that's a lot of views. And I like 1 million as a sweet spot because it's a good number. And here's the cool part. You want 1 million people to see you anyways with that authority figure. And as you go through our training, you've hopefully already watched a module, or you will, that talks about you can set a pixel on the interview on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube so that the 1 million people who see this you've tagged them and you can retarget them with lead magnets to your webinar, to your training, to your, lead magnet funnel, whatever it is that you have. You can retarget them to other interviews. You can retarget them in a sequence of virtually any consumption pattern you want. So not only are you going to get 1 million views with them, not only are you going to get photos with them that you can use in your presentations, in your funnel, on your sales pages, and in your marketing, you're going to have 1 million views on an interview with this person anyway. So there's like 7 different ways I just quickly named that you can leverage this if you want to take it to that level. But then here's the thing. How much does it cost to get 1 million people to see the interview? Because what you're really doing is you're just getting the interview, taking the footage, and uploading it on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, or all of them. And then you pay Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram money to show eyeballs, to get views on the video. Just like you would pay money to run an advertisement on Facebook, run an advertisement on radio, run an advertisement on television, run an advertisement on YouTube or whatever. You're just paying to promote and boost the video on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. Different terminology depending on the platform you're on, but you're just paying the platform and telling on YouTube, I want to show this video of me and Tony Robbins to 1 million people on YouTube. And I want it to be people who already follow Tony Robbins and a couple of the other individuals. And they'll take your money happily and they'll put eyeballs on the video. It's very simple. That's just the way it works. It's almost like advertising, but you're just paying to promote your content, which, as you've already probably seen, is a common thread between a lot of the things that we're teaching here. It's like you and me, we don't just start with 1 million followers or even 1,000 followers. We probably start with none. And so how are we going to get anybody to see our content? You pay the platform to show it to whoever you want. And it's the same thing here. You just pay the platform. And so if they say, well, how are you going to get me 1 million views? And by the way, I and anyone who's ever tried this, I've never heard anyone ever say, how are you going to get me 1 million views? No one's ever said that because no one ever has had the audacity to reach out and say, I'll guarantee Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or Gary Vaynerchuk or Grant Cardone 1 million views on an interview and not be able to do it. You know what I mean? So if they do ask you, then you confidently say, I'm going to pay to promote this platform across multiple different channels like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram to get those millions of views to the target audience that's perfect for Tony Robbins' new documentary or book. That sounds pretty damn good. And so it doesn't matter. You're going to get 1 million views and they're going to pay to promote it to the exact audience of your choice. If somebody had the audacity to reach out to me and offer me 1 million views, and then I asked them, well, how are you going to do that? Because I don't see your show online. And they told me that, I'd be like, dang, that's awesome that you're such a badass. You're going to film me and you're going to pay your own money to promote this to 1 million people. Respect. And so to get 1 million views, usually will cost around $5,000 to $10,000. And I know you might be going, $5,000 to $10,000 to get 1 million views? Oh God, and I haven't even paid for the videographer and the editing or maybe even a studio yet. This is starting to get expensive. Other people's money, they'll pay for it. How is somebody else going to pay for my interview with Tony Robbins? I don't really get this. Here's how. Sponsors. You reach out to companies that are sponsors that they want to align themselves with you and your platform because they want to be a sponsor on a Tony Robbins interview. Get it? So now you identify who would want to be a business sponsor to 1 million potential people interested in Tony Robbins, which means they might potentially be interested in your business, product, or service. So this company now is going to pay to have their product or service align, just like you're aligning yourself with Tony Robbins. The show or that episode is brought to you by FedEx, LegalZoom, Salesforce, yada, yada, yada. Name and identify and research the top companies who could be potential sponsors for the interview with Tony Robbins or whoever, or whoever, or whoever. Are you starting to see? I think some light bulbs are going off on the other side of the screen there. This is potentially a life-changing strategy. And if you're wondering how much this has made me, it's not an exact down to the cents, like, a couple $1,000,000 in this sense, but it's a couple $1,000,000. I haven't crunched like 52 cents, like I haven't gotten it down to the penny, but this has made me at least $3 million. $3 million in a couple years too, by the way. So this has actually become one of the biggest strategies for me growing my personal brand and becoming more authoritative while reaching millions and millions of people. Are you getting it? Someone else pays for the millions of views for me to interview celebrities. What? This sounds like a dream. Someone else pays for the millions of views that you're going to have with the biggest celebrities. So now you're going to reach out to all your biggest dream clients or interview people, and you're going to guarantee them any amount of views that are 2 to 3 times their average ratio on their largest platform. Remember that. So that's how you come up with the formula for what you should promise in views. And then just know that it's a good, safe ballpark to just mentally think that it's $5,000 to $10,000 to get 1 million views. That's the number you quote the sponsor. So get this. The Super Bowl, I think, has like over 100 million people watching. Okay, this right here is 1 million. A Super Bowl commercial costs $5 million. $5 million. So there's companies out there willing to pay $5 million for a 30-second commercial for 100 million plus people to see it, maybe, without any tracking, anything at all. You're going to have a 20-minute, 30-minute, 60-minute interview, and you're going to have 1 million people see it, and you only need to offer them $5,000 to $10,000 to do it. You will be shocked. And guess what? The number one thing companies struggle with? Content marketing. Companies struggle all the time with content marketing. You're going to create content for them, technically, and they're going to just put their logo or a commercial. So the couple ways that you could do it is you could say, what we're going to do is for $5,000, you get 1 commercial in the interview. For $7,500, you get 2 commercials in the interview. For $10,000, you get a commercial in the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the TV screens on the back are going to have your logo on them. I'm just giving you examples in case you're like, how does this work? I get it. I love it. It's amazing. But how does it work? That's it. You can quote them different price points to incentivize them to pay more money to have more promotions throughout it. So one way to do it is you just have their names on the TV screens behind you. And you might be like, TV screens? Well, my studio has TV screens in it. You might want to consider that as an option. You can go out and rent a studio. You can go rent a studio for an hour. You can go rent a studio for a day. That might cost $1,000. It might cost $2,000 to rent a full studio for the day. Build it into the fee you charge the sponsor. So now there is a studio and there are screens, and on the screens you put the logo of the sponsor for every episode. Then the sponsor could, if they want, they could send you a little commercial clip to play in the advertisement in the interview. So whenever you feel in the interview is a good time, usually in the middle, it cuts. And you could even, when Tony Robbins in the interview, I'm using him as an example, when your interview's done, then you film some extra clips, and those extra clips could be you on camera like this and say, hey, we'll be right back after we hear from a quick message from our sponsor. And then it cuts and it plays the quick little commercial from your sponsor, and then you film a quick little thing. You say, all right, that was just from our sponsor, LegalZoom. Now we're going to get back to the interview. And then it cuts back into the interview. So you can just have fun and think like a producer and a director would and think about how you want to cut these things in. Or you just have the logos on the screen, or you just have the logo at the bottom of the screen in the corner the whole time. There's a lot of different ways you could choose to integrate putting sponsors into the interview so that 1 million people see the episode, or maybe 200,000 people see the episode if it's a smaller guest. And you just quote them in proportion, knowing it's going to cost about $5,000 to $10,000 for 1 million views. Plus, you're going to have a videographer you're going to have to hire to film it and edit it, unless that comes with the studio rent package. If you rent a studio, if it comes with the film team, that could be $2,000 to $3,000 to rent a studio and hire a videographer to film it and edit it. So you could be looking at $7,000 to $12,000 for one super, super high-end, credible, amazing interview. So just quote the sponsor. If you're trying to get 1 million views, just quote the sponsor $7,000 to $12,000. I wouldn't look at this as an opportunity for you to put a bunch of money in your pocket. I would look at this as an opportunity for you to get famous on someone else's dollar. I would look at this as an opportunity for you to reach millions of people and impact millions of people by aligning yourself with authority figures that are going to level up your credibility, level up your positioning, level up the perception other people have about you as a leader and as a trustworthy person that they can potentially work with. And then because no one's smart enough to really think about this stuff on either side of the table here, they got their value from the 1 million views. They got their value from the 1 million views. So now you get to do whatever you want with all those 1 million views. And what I mean is, I said it earlier, you can plug in a pixel that retargets everybody. So the 1 million people who saw this interview, you've now got them. You can show them another interview. You can show them a lead magnet to your webinar, to your funnel, to your offer, anything you want. So now you don't have to be like, well, 1 million people saw it, but that's it. No, they all saw it. Now you can show them another thing and another thing and another thing. Like if you go on Amazon, look at a pair of shoes, and then the shoes follow you around with an advertisement all over the internet. That's what I'm talking about here. So there's so many valuable lessons in everything I just shared with you here. Leveraging other people's authority, leveraging other people's money. You connect the two and you broker the deal in the middle as the person who does the interview. This is one of the most powerful strategies that I have in my arsenal. It's made me millions of dollars, and we have dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe even over 100 people that have personally reached out and told me in our community that they've used this to interview some of the biggest people in their industry, reach out to New York Times bestsellers, reach out to Pulitzer Prize winners, reach out to celebrities, reach out to the biggest thought leaders in their industry. And this has been a game changer for their career and their business and their personal brand as well. So I hope this strategy is helpful for you. I know I heard some light bulbs going off on the other side of the screen there, so hopefully this is something that totally transforms your business as well. And as always, because you're in our community, if you have any questions about this, post it in the Facebook group, or I'll see you on the next weekly call and we can dive more into how this strategy can help you blow up your business.